Hi there, and welcome to episode 1 of The Builder's Office. My name is Hugh Maastricht. I will be your host. A little bit of a background about me is I am a builder of 22 years. Started way back when I was 16 years old. Started out just with a little bit of fun, just swinging to the hammer and giving it a good whirl. Trying my best to really make it in this world, I guess you could say. So I've been around for a while, been doing lots and lots of different projects from high-end homes through to basic little renovations and seen quite a lot over the years. And it's really given myself quite a unique view about what's going on out there. So with that being said, just wanted to start off with I was really looking to be able to have a couple of really unique guests to join me to go through a couple of these really important topics that we think that are really going to be able to help people out there find their way when it comes to building. Now, we understand that building isn't always the easiest of things to do, but as builders, we try to make that easier. Still doesn't stop the problems from happening, things coming up, little changes that need to be made, but we try to make it as streamlined as possible. But the whole purpose of my podcast is to really just get the information out there to everybody to make their life easier. So from little things like sustainability, where do I start, who do I go to, plan on being able to bring a couple of people that we do know that are going to be able to help us really iron out who and what everybody needs. So to get started, I really wanted to touch on something. It was a conversation that I was having with a client just the other day. Now, this particular client, we are doing a small renovation for them. Nothing extravagant, but they really wanted to go in and do a lot of the things themselves just on those initial stages, which is fine. It's great. We'll help as many people as we possibly can, and these guys really, they needed some of that help, which was fine. So with that being said, some of the things that we discussed at the time was that they were surprised by how much information was actually needed to be able to do a lot of the things in the building industry. And believe you me, there is so much there. And I wish that I could go through it all in a short period of time, but unfortunately, it's so big, we can open a massive can of worms. But that being said, the things that we were talking about at the time were building permits and engineerings and how many people they actually had to discuss the project with before they could get to the point of being able to swing the hammers and start doing some of the work on the house. Now, going through some of that is always quite interesting, quite challenging. And without a little bit of guidance, sometimes that can get really, really difficult. But who do you go to when you need that guidance? One of the things that this particular client of ours did actually say to us, which was quite interesting, and this is the reason that I'm bringing it up in my first episode here, is that they found it exceedingly challenging because no matter where they turned, there was always something else that was being thrown at them and another challenge that they needed to overcome. And they wish that they'd actually spoken to a builder earlier in the process to be able to work out where they need to go, or at least have known where they could go and have a chat with somebody about what the processes are and set out that plan so that they knew what they were really getting into. And that's one of the biggest challenges when it comes to the building industry. From the first moment you think of doing a project, what's actually needed? And believe you me, what's actually needed, the list, we could go through so much. I'm not going to go through that now because there is so much to it, but I can tell you this much. When it comes to the things that you actually need to do, the step-by-step list can start with coming up with your concept. Yes, the concept of what you're wanting to do. And for these guys, we'll just go through some of the things that they had, the challenges that they had. So that what they had was starting off, having a plan. Okay, I want to extend my house. I want to demolish my garage. I want to build a new garage, and I want an outdoor living area. So they started with that, which was a really great idea. And they went off. They found a local draftsperson who helped them out really, really quite immensely. And now this particular draftsperson is somebody that I know personally, and they do amazing work. And I know that they also give them that little bit of extra information to be able to get the desired outcome, which is really good. And I can't praise this draftsperson more. I use them regularly for pretty much all of my projects, and they always do a top-notch job. And this is where we became involved after they'd done the initial drawings, and they're wanting to find out, okay, well, what's this going to cost? Now, when it comes to some of that, when you need to work out what it's going to cost, it is the challenging part, because depending on who you speak to and where the ideas of budgets. Now, budgets are a whole other story. We won't get into that now because budgets can be quite challenging. So when it came to it, the budget was always going to be a challenge. But irrespective of the budget, they kept going, and they were getting the information from the drafty, and then speaking to us and working out, okay, well, what's the next process? We gave them the next processes that they needed to step into to get moving along through the project, which was great. They understood that, okay, to get to the next stages, we can come up with a price, but without engineerings, we can only give you a ballpark. We can't give you an exact costing. So they understood that at the time. When it got the engineerings done, energy reports that needed to be done as well, negotiating with the council on whether there was planning permissions or building over easements, things like that. And then, of course, what other services might have been needed to be able to get them where they needed to go. So they did have a lot of fun. And in one of our most recent conversations we are starting this project in the not too distant future, they came back and they were saying things along the lines of, we wish that this was quite an interesting learning curve, and they don't think that they'll go down the road of doing as much work right up front as what they've done. It was eye-opening to actually see how much work goes on in the back end, from a builder's perspective and from a designer's perspective and the engineer's perspective and then the council's perspective. There's so much to do, so many little things that they need to tick off, but they were quite happy to acknowledge that it is quite challenging on top of their normal workload with work. So when it comes to it, it was really interesting to have that conversation, and we're so glad and grateful that we can actually help them out, be able to achieve the goal that they were really out to achieve. So we'll be starting that project next week. Really excited about that for the clients. They will be quite excited to be able to get into this next stage, which we could just see the sigh of relief when they got their building permit and they could call us up and say, well, we're ready to go. But that's just one of the things. Tempering expectations is one of the biggest, hardest things that we experience in the building industry. We've had lots of different experiences, but one of the things that we are going to touch on in a later episode is going to be the stuff of when to engage who, which specifically person you need to engage early on, when the best time to engage them is as well. But that being said, I want to thank you for having a listen today. Always open to getting more questions from everybody. Have set up an email, which is, if I can remember it, give me a second, I'll have to remember it. It is thebuildersoffice humasmart101@gmail.com. If you have any questions, send that through. If you're watching this on YouTube, then I'll put the links below. You can get in contact with us. We'll be setting up a little Facebook group, which we will figure out how to get that done as well. But yeah, wherever you're listening to this, wherever you're viewing this from, questions can come in. If you have any thoughts about what we have discussed, definitely send us a note, send us a line, put a comment in, whatever it may be, and we'll try our best to get back to you. So my name's Hugh Maastricht. It's been a pleasure to chat to you. I'm going to sign off right now, and thank you so much for listening, and we'll chat again soon. See ya.